Hello, everyone. My name is John and I'm from IFA. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Abhishek Hazra. Abhishek Hazra is an artist based in Bangalore. In his practice, he uses video, text, and performance drawn from real and fictional scenarios. His practice is also informed by the history of science and critical theory. Abhishek has also been the recipient of the prestigious Sanskriti Award for Visual Art in 2011, which was 10 years ago. Abhishek's work in 25 by 25, titled The Aesthetics of Nandan Flat-Formalism, is a video featuring a conversation between a young art buyer and a machine learning algorithm built for the art market. Over the course of the conversation, we learn about an island country called Stoa, State of the Arts, and their erstwhile embassy in Bangalore. So we'll take a look at the trailer first, and after that we'll have conversation with Abhishek.
Hello everyone, a very warm welcome. In today's showcase, we will explore some of the emerging socio-technical practices that will strongly influence the next 25 years of the internet in this part of the world. Some of the young startups operating out of HSR layout in Bangalore have been very kind to give us an overview of this emerging terrain. One of them has been developing artificial intelligence and machine learning based helper agents for industry specific verticals. Keeping today's audience in mind, we will present the beta version of their latest product, Z Lambda or Slamda. Slamda is a digital helper agent specifically focused on the art market vertical. Built around a conversational interface, Slamda is a voice based agent for young, first time art buyers. We will now present before you a recreated conversation between Slamda and Croy. Croy is a young, mathematically minded investor interested in buying affordable art with high returns on investment.
Hello, Zlamda. Hello, Croy. Welcome. How can I help you today? I'm a young investor who likes to play around with customized financial instruments in relatively under regulated markets. Of late, I have been thinking of investing in the art market. This is a new vertical for me, so I need your help to find me a specific kind of artwork that interests me. What kind of artwork do you want? Is it a painting or a sculpture? What historical period are you looking at? Well, very predictably enough, I am looking at paintings. But nothing very big in scale. Also, I am looking for artists who were once coveted by the art market but whose prices have now dropped sharply. And yes, it would be great if the artists are already dead. I see. So you are planning to do a pump and dump scheme. Buy them cheap now, build up their value again through your network, and then dump them when their prices have hit the stratosphere. A dead artwork. Really? A dead artwork? Come on, Zlamda. I have no time for these pretentious theoretical obfuscation. I am sorry. I am very sorry to sound unintentionally theoretical. I just meant that the artworks, that is, the paintings themselves, no longer exist. But I have managed to find a set of videos that give you a glimpse of the paintings. However, before I can show you the documentation videos of these paintings, I have to tell you about a short lived country called Stoa and Stoa's embassy in Bangalore.
This painting, well, it has a story. So around that time, there were many protests happening around this country. Farmers, students, teachers, and the government thought it was going all out of control. So what the government did is it asked law enforcement to take really close-up shots of the faces of the protesters. And they were connecting it to the information they had from the biometric devices, the cards. And they were connecting all this information in order to create files of the protesters.
Bonjour, ça va bien, merci. Et vous? I'm l'agent de l'immigration, the Stoa Embassy, and I see that your contemporary artist was applied under Arts Refugee Program, and we went through your proposal very carefully, and we see that you have done Master of Fine Arts from Paris. That's very good, très bien, très bien. But the problem is that we also went through your statement of purpose, and in the statement of purpose, you say, I just want to paint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Actually, your particular inquiry should be routed through the envoy for digital diplomacy. Yes, I think that would be the right channels to approach this through. Yes, yes. This piece. Oh, actually, this piece is part of a larger collection called Sloppy Abstractions. It was gifted to us by the artists. You know, the artists who took refuge at the embassy. Yeah, it doesn't have a specific name. I'd like to call it Sea of Utopia.
Oh, this painting, it is a unique artwork. We acquired it. No, wait, it was gifted to us or left behind. It is not your typical acquisition. This landed in our laps thanks to a now anonymous artist collective, and it is part of their sloppy abstractions collection. Quite unique. This is also different because usually we seek art and artworks, but this one sought us. And it came with a goodbye note, actually.
Thank you, Abhishek. That was a wonderful teaser to the full film that I hope that I'm encouraging everyone to go and watch. It's on our IFA website. The link is there. So I'm so honored to be a part of your film. Would you, so would you like to say something about your casting decisions of IFA staff?
Right. Sure, John. It's wonderful to it's this seamless transition between artwork into quote unquote real world, so to speak. By the way, the link should also be there in the session comment section, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
The link
yeah,
will be there. Yes.
yeah. Okay, so now the casting came from the decision because the uh, in this work, IFA is really the kind of artistic material uh, of the work itself. And what I mean by that is IFA's institutionality, right? And here also I'm approaching IFA as what philosophers of language would call a generic particular. So IFA as a particular instance of an independent grants making organization which is focused on uh, philanthropy in the arts, right? So that is one aspect, and then I have a kind of long standing interest in thinking about institutionality through artistic practice. Can artistic practice explore the tensions that exist between an institution and the context in which the institution finds itself in? So that is and I have explored similar questions in other artworks. So that's a continuing thread. And in this case, the institution, which I was focusing on was IFA itself. And that was also prompted by the open call, the nature of the open call itself, because it was kind of, IFA celebrating itself, Silver Jubilee, and then, it was conjoined with this other anniversary of the internet. And because it was this kind of, this Silver Jubilee thing, anniversary, a 25 years, a certain passage of time, and at this particular moment, this question of what would IFA be 25 years from now on in 2045, which is what I kind of allude to in the video also, and what would of course the the surrounding state of affairs be. So essentially, then the question became that what would IFA be? What would this particular independent grant-making organization be in 25 years? And then here the focus also was on independent, that phrase on the question of autonomy. So in 25 years from now on, would independent grant-making organizations like IFA, would they be made redundant? And the entire kind of onus on philanthropy in the arts would get completely would shift completely to, say, the people running corporate social responsibility programs, and their outreach, their conception of what art is and what social is, etc., etc. So that was the kind of context. And then Stoa and everything else were kind of fictional constructs to situate all of that. And so which is why this having real IFA staff come in to populate and kind of give life to this fictional country and their predicaments of some artists who have are seeking refuge both in a literal and kind of metaphorical sense within their premises. So it's like so it's literally imagine some artist living or camping out 2 feet away from you, wherever your offices are. So that's the kind of scenario. So yeah, so in a way it was very crucial to have all of you. And again, I want to say thanks to, of course, to you, John, and to Darshana, to Menaka, and to Arundhati for being very willing participants in this project. Very
It was quite a pleasure to be part of the film. So it's very important that you mentioned the institutional. So institutional critique has a very long trajectory that you are referring to.
Right.
Unlike other instances of institutional critique, there's a very strong element of fiction also in your work.
Right.
So would you like to say something about the genesis of how do you combine the fictional and the real?
Right. So yeah, that's a very interesting question, John. So let me try to unpack it in two parts. One is that the genesis is, of course, it's very much a real event, and I think I can share that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, the genesis was again my experience in buying a ticket online for an IFA online fundraiser event. And this was a performance, a story reading performance by Motley, and the performance itself,
Nasruddin Shah,
inimitable trio of Nasruddin Shah, Ratna Pathak Shah, and Hiba Shah. And the performance itself was, of course, wonderful, and it was great to kind of experience that in a certain kind of great degree of proximity, because it's not the proscenium or not even a more in certain kind of whatever other settings. So all of that was great. But in the process of buying the tickets for the event, I found myself within a online ticketing platform hosted by a particular, outfit who is also known for their digital payment solutions. And that entire thing of this particular company, they're very much branded, ticketing platform. And then, Nasiruddin Shah, all of that produced a strange kind of, unsettling moment for me. While of course, online ticketing platforms are, they are, of course, has been very helpful for many small and independent practitioners to, sustain themselves, particularly in the pandemic. But in today's day and age, any kind of, digital payment process, you cannot not think of digital privacy. And so right through that moment, I was also constantly thinking about the kind of, if I can say so, the gaze of the database. That how is this particular database in which all of these details are being stored, along with the fact that I, as this consumer subject, is also interested in attending an Nasruddin Shah event. How is the database then profiling me? Which profile is this, getting built up to, and who else would have an interest in such a profile? That, this set, even in mathematical terms, this set of all attendees who attended Nasruddin Shah's event or who have been attending Nasruddin Shah's events, right? What is the set? Who would be interested in the personal details of this entire gathering, right? And with, as you know, with digital payment and platforms, particularly with where, personal detail sharing is involved, there is the threat of that being compromised is always looms large. So that was the genesis. And then when I saw the open call, it became I realized that it's like can be an appropriate context to think to bring both of these kind of, all of these threads together. Because there is IFA involved in the grant itself, which is unlike any other open call that IFA would put out, right? Whether it would be, archives or independent art practice, the markers are different. Here, IFA is putting itself into the grant, and it is talking also about the internet. And in today's, we had a separate conversation, and in today's context, we can no longer talk about the internet in this kind of early 90s utopian moment that, that sort of an open internet doesn't exist. It's all kind of walled in platforms, right? So future of platforms, future of IFA, so that was the all generated by a ticket buying experience.
So as a counterpoint to what you mentioned regarding art and market, I'd like to quote Swiss artist Thomas Hirschhorn, who participated in the last edition of
Right.
Biennale, at a time that you also had a lecture performance in Biennale.
Right.
That's a time Thomas Hirschhorn's workshop was for 1 month in
right.
2019. So something that he has said about he's from Marxist tradition. So something that he said about art market is that he's not working for art market. He's working with art market to proceed spreading his own ideas, messages about politics at large. So then a market becomes a necessary evil in that sense.
Yeah, so as viewers who see the work will realize that it's I'm not, it's not like a anti-market rant in that sense, and because they can get very polarizing and also perhaps they will prevent one to explore the kind of the inner processes which are at play. So I don't want. I mean, perhaps the subtext in your question is, am I kind of articulating a sort of a with, for, against sort of a logic in the work? So I am not directly responding to Hirschhorn's statement because that will take much longer. But so yeah, it's not a simple kind of a oppositional kind of thing, but it's also kind of, the co-imbricated aspect
Yeah, my
of.
question is also regarding your interest in art market, because the conversation is between an art buyer and the algorithm, which is highly
Right,
important
right,
to respond to. So
right.
the question is regarding how the non-human aspects of economy comes in.
Right. So that is really my so art market comes in because of, in this particular context of abstract painters, and there is other histories of abstraction as with a certain history within artistic practice, modernist painting, Greenberg, all of that, and there is a kind of reference to Greenberg in the name, but of course the flat formalism also invokes some other celebrated citizens of Bangalore. I won't get into those details, but there is this interest in the kind of derivatives and the mathematics behind financial instruments, and the kind of trying to understand it from an artistic perspective. What are the kind of intensities and energies at play in these kind of almost abstract mathematical models, and this entire process of mathematical modeling itself also interests me. And I have done other works which look at some of these aspects. In fact, there was one work which was which Rux Media Collective had invited me to show in this exhibition in MACBA in Barcelona, which was again uh, around where I was also looking at this notion of the speculation and the financial derivatives, and also bringing in the figure of this particular German emigre in London.
Well, that brings me to the last question, which is, a scholar like Marina Wishmit has said that contemporary art itself is a form of speculation. Contemporary art itself has as an economic form, and it is like derivatives market. So,
Yeah. So yes, there is a lot of interesting um, kind of writing on this, particularly the speculative nature of contemporary art markets, and how the commodity, the kind of abstract immaterial commodity circulates, and all of that, and uh, abstraction, or visual languages that borrow from the kind of the formalist strategies of abstraction, they are also connected to this entire prices, and there is an entire recent history of what is now called as zombie formalism. Right. Paintings done with what is it, fire extinguisher. So there is that entire discourse around that, but my interest in kind of the speculative fiction aspect was to kind of give it a certain grounding in which to anchor these what I could say as thought experiments of a certain kind. So that's these speculations form that context, and viewers will also see that there is a play between these two aspects of speculation, between the speculative fiction of speculation and speculation of financial instruments and derivatives, and all of that. So that's the
it's a very important point to conclude on, and the kind of way you juxtaposed abstraction in painting as well as abstraction in economy. So,
right.
lot to think about, and I invite everyone to come and watch Abhishek's full film on IFA's
Please do.
website.
And please think about where are the oil fields of Bangalore located, and who are the visionaries of the oil fields of Bangalore.
Lot of provocations. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, John, and thanks to IFA too. Okay, great.
Pleasure.
Yeah.